Okay. Welcome, everybody. This is our August 2021 meeting for the STC Florida chapter. I'd like to welcome you. I'm Alex Garcia. I'm one of the chapter directors, and here with us have some of the officers. We have Jessica Nealing, the new vice president, and WC returning as our treasurer. Did want to welcome you to the chapter year. We have a lot of exciting events coming up this fall. As Jessica mentioned, we do have our Cptc Study Buddies program that she's been spearheading along with her mentee. If Jessica, you want to give us a quick overview of what's going on with that program and when your next meeting is coming up.
Sure. Our next meeting is next Wednesday at 7 o'clock. We'll be going over part 2 of the technical communication today. I normally have it with me to show and I don't have it, sorry. The book is divided into 5 parts. So we're going over a part per month, and we went over part 1 in July. We're going over part 2 in this next upcoming meeting. The format of the meeting is we really just share what we took in from reading the book, and if anyone has any comments, they offer them, and any questions. And the meeting, we haven't sent out the meeting notice for that meeting, but it will be going out soon. And we're just there to support each other, hold each other accountable while we study for the certification test for the practitioner level. And the comments, oh wait, you can't comments. Well, they're already in the chat. So thank you, Alex. I appreciate that.
Excellent. And I guess we'll go ahead and get started with our program tonight. Tonight we have Julia Southwick and John Clement. They're going to give us some tips on how to make a great presentation. So I guess without any further ado, I'll turn it over to Julia and John. Let's take it away.
Thanks. John, could you go into present mode, please?
Yeah, absolutely.
Here we go. So I'm Julia. I'm the STC Florida Communications Chair and Newsletter Editor.
And I'm John. I'm the president of Future Technical Communicators at UCF. And we're looking forward to delivering this presentation for you tonight. And let me know anytime you want to advance the slides as well.
Of course. So this is our planned agenda. We're going to take you through some steps for making and delivering good slides, starting with planning your topic, moving into tools. We picked the 2 most common, then moving on to templates and design principles, including some basics. And we're going to have some fun and add slides. Then we're going to move to delivery, including interacting with your audience and how virtual presenting versus in-person presenting differ. Our last big topic is going to be tips and tricks, and our last slide is going to be a QA. Can move to the next slide. So planning your topic. Start with a topic and brainstorm ideas about it. Having real trouble with this video window. Let me move that out of the way. So for topic planning, first off, you need to figure out, do you have an idea in mind? Do you need or have a writing prompt? Is it for school or work? Is this an assignment, a project, something for STC, or maybe just an interest or a hobby? Next slide, please. Next is to brainstorm. There are many different ways you can do that. I've listed a couple here. You can do a brain dump, an idea web, which was the image on the last slide. And you could also try doing an outline. Just as a general note, you should consider what resources you might need. And I do have a link for brainstorming techniques that I'm popping into the chat. There you go. Let's see here. Can we go to the next slide? Okay, considering tools, Google Slides, PowerPoint, which one does what best? Next slide. Some pros for Google Slides are it's online and it's free. Anyone can edit. It saves automatically, so you don't have to worry about accidentally closing before you're finished or saved. It also tracks versions, so you can easily look at what changes have been made if you want to go back to a previous idea that you got rid of. You can also collaborate in real time with others. So I could be on slide 9 making changes, and John could be on slide 12, and we'd still be working on the same document. There would be no trading back and forth. For PowerPoint, it is the industry standard. It has a lot of smart art and design ideas for you to use, so you don't have to come up with things on your own. And you can also record your presentations in PowerPoint directly, so you can figure out the timing of your narration. Next slide, please. Now for the cons. Google Slides is online only, so if you, for any reason, don't have internet, that makes it a lot harder. It's also hard, but not impossible, to collaborate with non-Gmail users, and there are only 15 different animations which could be used to transition between slides or have your text zoom in onto the screen. For PowerPoint, there is a paywall. You do have to have a license, and if you do run into technical difficulties, you're going to want to have it saved in multiple places, like on your computer and the internet, and possibly even on a flash drive. And in order to collaborate, you have to email the file back and forth. And the next slide is an example of what, excuse me, what Google Slides looks like. And after that is what PowerPoint looks like. I believe it's your turn next, John.
Okay, great. So now that we've taken a look at just the differences between PowerPoint and Google Slides, and just thanks for the great slides. It's always great to see just how different those two can be, but at the same time, just how similar in power they are, and the benefits of both. So now that we've taken a look into both, we can look into using templates. And the templates really let you quickly add visual appeal to your presentation, because as much as the content is important and as much as the tool is important or anything like that, at the end of the day, it always helps to have a visually appealing PowerPoint as well, because it's the difference between black and white words on a screen versus having graphics and images. And the best part about templates is those don't have to be graphics and images that you make. You can find them and they're automatically placed in your presentation for you. So we're going to dive into just how to do that. And charts and graphs, here's just a little tip introducing the section. Charts and graphs are great ways to automatically input information into your PowerPoint or into your Google Sheets presentation, Google Slides presentation, my bad. But they're a great way to automatically place in information to be visually appealing. If you organize the data in the right way, you can make a chart when you need to, and suddenly a list of 10 different percentages becomes a nice pie chart or a bar chart or something like that. And it's automatic. You don't have to go into PowerPoint or go into something like Photoshop or just any tool where you have to design the graphic yourself. There are a lot of ways in both programs to just make a chart or make a graph, import information into it, and boom, something's already done and made for you. So some caveats to that: be sure to only use them when needed, because too many slides or too many charts and graphs at the same time can be kind of overwhelming. It's like having too much of a good thing. So be sure to only use them when needed, but it's good for variety. Use the right chart and bar graph for the situation, and use proper labels and scales, because as much as people might not like looking at charts, if they're not sure what they're looking at, then that's missing the point of using a template to put the information into in the first place. Might be better off just leaving it as is, just as text. And so now going into how to make actual design templates. And just as a note, this presentation was made using a template. So the designs you see in the background and some of the color options and things like that, made from a template. You didn't have to go in there and just add the figures or shapes in. It just came imported with the template that we used. So here's just jumping into how to do it using Google Slides first. So Google Slides has built-in templates. There are other ways to get them as well, but first we're going to focus on the built-in ones. So if you open up Google Drive, select New, hover over the arrow besides Google Slides, and then click blank presentation from a template, or choose either one. Well, that's how you start to make your Google Slides presentation. And if you do a blank presentation, you start off completely blank, white background, black text, no images, and you can build off from there. You can still import templates if you want, but if you want to use one of the Google Slides built-in templates, there's an option for that, using the instructions on the screen and choosing from a template. And then start making your presentation. You can go into the View or Slides tab on the ribbon menu, click Theme Builder or the Edit Theme button, build and edit your theme, add content, and complete your presentation. So there are ways to start with the template and then customize it the way you want. For example, if we wanted to go into the background of this presentation itself right now and modify how it looks and everything like that, we could change the background graphics to, instead of being pink and blue, we could find some way to customize it, make it purple and black or something along those lines. So there is a degree of freedom with the templates, just a little thing we wanted to share. And yeah, so this is the way to use templates in your presentation. You can either choose, like from the beginning, just use a template or create this file from a template, or you can just start making it and then along the way just think, I think this could use some extra style in it, or I want to see how it looks in this theme or this fashion, and use the options on the screen. You go to View, Theme Builder, build and edit the theme, and then by following these steps, you can automatically just design your presentation the way that you want. And graphics, style, placing, a lot of that comes built into it. And once you click those buttons, it just transforms the way your slides look. And alternatively, you can select a theme from SlidesGo or import slides from PowerPoint. These are both useful ways to use templates as well, because first I'll start with PowerPoint. Say you already have a PowerPoint presentation and you're thinking, okay, this looks really nice, but I want to have it on Google Slides for one reason or another. You can import the slides from PowerPoint. You go to File and then Import Slides, choose the PowerPoint file, and then your presentation is right there. You don't have to start from scratch. No tears have to be shed over losing all the content and graphics. You can just import the PowerPoint and it should look as close to or exactly the same as how your PowerPoint looked before. And then you can play around with it and use it the same way in Google Slides. So that's one way to import a PowerPoint if you already like the design. And you can select a theme from SlidesGo too. And for reference, SlidesGo is a website that lets you download and import a wide range of templates available on the website. So it's a great website feature. We're going to dive into it a little bit more later, but if you want to choose from a wide array of like third-party templates, SlidesGo is your best bet. And then after all that's said and done, add content, complete your presentation. As simple as that. There's a lot of options and all of them are really add value to your template, your presentation. And I'm just going to go through how to do it in PowerPoint as well. A lot of you may be familiar with it. Just the PowerPoint themes that are built in already that are available on the ribbon. And there are some more options too, but these ones built into it, you should definitely make use of when you're making your PowerPoint so that you add a specific theme or style to it and add to that visual appeal. So you start making a presentation. First off, you go into the design tab on the ribbon menu, you click the design ideas button, scroll through the ideas and select one that you like. And there will be similar options regardless of set slide type. And alternatively, you can select a theme from the themes section. So you have two options here. You can select design, click on one of those options, and some of them are simple, some of them are very bright and colorful, a lot of very visually appealing options in there. And alternatively, if you want to just pick a theme and say, I want these colors to be shown throughout my existing presentation. No fancy graphics, just theme it around these colors, this look. You can do that too. So the design tab and the theme section, those are great ways to add some style that are built into PowerPoint itself. And now to dive a bit more into SlidesGo. So slidesgo.com, that is a fantastic website to choose third-party templates. Templates can, as you've seen, just transform the way your presentation looks. And SlidesGo has hundreds, if not thousands, of just templates that other people have created with their own custom graphics and things like that that you can import directly just by clicking on a couple links on that website. You can search for a keyword, for example, teaching, education, finances, and so on. You select a theme from there, you download it, and then you make a presentation using that downloaded theme. And there is an instructions for use slide that comes with each of them too, just in case you want to know how to create new slides, how to copy and paste things, so on and so forth. Once you download it, it comes with its own set of instructions. And you can delete unused slide templates. Because as an example, the way that it could work, you go to that website, you either download a PowerPoint file that is already themed and designed and everything, or you can click a button that does the same thing but in Google Slides, and it'll import a lot of different designed slides into that, into whatever format you choose. And from there, you can just use it on your own, use it for your own uses and play around with it, edit them as you like, because it just gives you a whole bunch of already edited and designed slides for your own usage. So slidesgo.com, if you're ever thinking, I want a template based on this specific thing, use that, put in a keyword, and the instructions are there as a reminder. All right, so I'll pass it back to you, Julia, for design principles.
Design principles, the do's and don'ts of designing your slides. The next slide. Add content, but less is more. You should stick to the general rule of 5 to 7 bullet points per slide. You can, of course, go over or under that. It's just a guideline, not a rule. You should also stick to no more than 2 to 3 graphics or images or whatever else on your slide. You don't want to clutter your slide with too many images. You also need to make sure your slides are readable and use your basic design principles from your classes in technical communication. And if it's been a while, I'm sure we could come up with a presentation going over just those if anyone is interested. Next slide, please. We already went over how to design using templates, using PowerPoint suggestions, or SlidesGo. You can also design your own slides from scratch. You can search for relevant images or graphs, not only on Google, but also in PowerPoint. And you can always design and redesign as you go. Next slide, please. Some guidelines on specific ways to do bullet points. You should group your related bullet points, indenting sub-bullets, and use your white space to indicate a new topic group. It increases usability. I also like to add white space between a sub-bullet and a main bullet underneath. You can also use color to group your related bullets, words, etc. into different topics. Next slide, please. Here's an example from my high school history class on exactly how to do that with the 3 G's of history: God, gold, and glory. Most historical events happen because either people believed making such a thing happen would please God, or it would increase the wealth of a group of people, or alternatively, the most common reason actually, they just wanted to earn some glory. Next slide, please. The bad slides. Here's where the fun is. This slide is an example on purpose, a very meta example of a bad slide. The first point is too small to read. The second is an example of fonts that are too thin or ornate, so it's hard to read. The third point you can see only in the middle of the slide because the color is too similar to the background. And the last bullet point is way too much text. It's basically a wall. Speaking of walls of text, next slide, please. Classic wall of text. All of these bullet points are paragraphs, and they should just be a sentence or a phrase. Keep it short. I don't know how many people would have time during a presentation to read this whole thing. You have to keep it short, otherwise people aren't going to read it. Even if you print it out, sometimes people won't read it. The next slide comes with a color warning. It is very bright and hard to read. I would recommend using a dark background with light text, or alternatively, a light, I think I may have said that backwards. Let me try that again. A dark background with light text, or a light background with dark text. You have a good point in the chat. If you close your eyes, you can see pink. Next slide, please. This is going back to, you don't want to use too many images. I had trouble at first figuring out what the text on the slide was because of the images. The slide title is, "What is IoT? Internet of Things." It's really hard when you have this many images, so try to stick to 2 or 3 images per slide. Next slide, please. This one not only does the wall of text, but also it has text on an image, which can be done right, but you need to make sure the brightness of the image is increased by about 75%, and then you can use a dark text color, and it'll be a lot easier to read, though maybe not perfect. It's very finicky, you have to play with it a lot. Next slide. You've probably seen at least one of these in professional life. They're really hard to read. You need to break it into several different slides if you're going to do this. And looking at this specific example, I would do it by row. It seems like the easiest solution to me, but of course you may have other ideas. The next slide is similar but different. It's it's the same premise. It's hard to read this, and with this specific type of slide, I don't know how I would restructure it, but I'm sure there's a way. That's a good point, Jessica. It's hard to figure out what your questions are if you can't even read the slide. The next slide is another similar one, but it's structured, again, very differently. It's too overwhelming, and in this case, I would probably go one color per slide. So the light blue overall government capacity would be its own slide, or maybe its own slide section, so that it would be a lot easier to understand. John, don't switch the slide quite yet. Forewarning, there are a lot of animations on the next slide, and it goes on for quite a while. Go to the next slide, please. It's fun to play with animations, but even though it's so tempting, don't use them all at once. Stick to one for introducing the slide. And if you're going to introduce the text separately, I would also stick to the same one, but you can do a separate animation so long as that's only used for text, and it's used for text every time there is text. Next slide. I believe this is John again, so the floor is yours.
Alrighty, and I've got to say that last slide is definitely one of my favorites because of the amount of animations there are. Perfect example of like, if I tried to absorb the information in that, if it was in real time, I would not have been able to. Too many spinning things, but I love it. So next up is delivery. So delivery is also a part of making great presentations, and or a very important part, because all great presentations must engage their audience. Because if you have the content, it's designed well, the next step is actually delivering the presentation and doing that part well. So first off are some tips on speaking, making sure that you're speaking well, that you can be heard, and that people hear you at a good level, that they are able to engage with you. Speaking is the cornerstone of having a great presentation. And you want to make sure that people can understand you when you're speaking. And first and foremost, you want to be sure that you speak at a good pace as well, because there's no such thing as speaking too slowly. Well, in some exaggerated cases, but you always want to make sure that you're speaking at a good pace. Don't worry about going too slowly, because good chances are the audience will benefit from it if you're speaking at a slow level so that they can absorb the information. Of course, that doesn't mean stretch a 1 hour presentation into being 4 hours, but make sure that your words are, you're pronouncing all your words effectively, that you're slowing down your sentences, that you're not speaking super fast so people can barely understand you, or they're speaking so much. It's good to slow down and speak at a good pace so that everybody absorbs everything. And speaking at a good volume too. And if using technology, a side note to check your mic, make sure it's on and raise your volume if you need to. As someone who's had a lot of issues with this point, I definitely want to stress that. And in a digital environment, volume and checking on it is definitely key. I've had my fair share of tech issues, and also I feel like I just speak at a low volume in person. So if you're in any way like me, in person, make sure that you're really raising your voice if you're a light speaker so that everybody can hear you. People in the back might not be able to if you speak lowly. And if you're using technology, check on your mic, spend a few minutes before the presentation doing a mic check, things like that, making sure that people can hear you at a good volume or can hear you at all. because both are important. And speak clearly as well so that the audience can understand your words. If for any reason you're muffled or things like that, people won't really hear the words that you're saying. In person, that could just be maybe that's just how you normally speak. Maybe you speak at a low volume and things can sound kind of muffled. And if it's online, maybe it's something with the microphone. Maybe you need to dust it off, or you need to get into a better environment. If there's background noise, your voice can be drowned out by noise. So make sure that you speak clearly so that people can understand your words. And a little side note to that, make sure you're in a good environment so that your voice comes out clearly. Because if your voice is drowned out for whatever reason, that's also an obstacle. So overall, make sure that you speak at a good pace. Don't worry about being too slow. It's helpful. Speak at a good volume, both your own volume and check your microphone. And also speak clearly. Make sure that your environment and just the way that you're speaking is clear to others. And next up is body language. A few things about body language just make it so that your presentation is more engaging, because people like to see just someone who is moving around or is just animated in person. It can be walking around or moving your hands. And even digitally, people can notice the difference between just non-animation and being animated. And it can be as simple as just nodding your head once in a while, or something like that virtually, because just even a little bit of animation in your own, or in your body language, goes a long way. And it gets people just to stay engaged with looking at you, and to just stay track to your face, to your body language. It connects to the presentation itself. And if you're in person, to reiterate again, use your hands and use body language. Just articulate as you say things, or if you're in a big room, just walk around a little bit, go from side to side, make a few steps. It just adds the extra little bit to that, really just helps you deliver that presentation. And remember to smile also, because even if your audience can't see your face, they'll hear it in your voice. Because just smiling, the actor doing that itself, it just has an effect on voice. It makes you look happier, it makes you feel and sound happier, and people will pick up your tone when you're smiling and when your voice says that you're smiling as well. Have good posture. That's also important, and sometimes it's hard to remember when either in person or online. And I feel like virtually it's especially relevant now. A lot of us either have been sitting in an office or a chair, and we hop into a meeting and suddenly we're all the way back. I have done that many times. And it's always good to check posture and make sure that you're upright facing the camera, that you haven't either disappeared or are leaning too close into the camera. That can also be a bit much. Make sure that you check your posture and that you're facing straight towards the camera. Or if it's in person, just you're standing straight, carrying that good body language, and that you're professional. Just it exudes that professional just feeling when you're either standing up straight or sitting up straight, and you carry yourself in that way. And finally, making eye contact. Virtually, be sure to look at the camera. In person, take turns looking at different people in different places in the audience. It really makes people feel seen if you're looking at their section of the audience or looking directly at a person. And if you just keep on looking around at people, it really just helps the audience connect with you. Like you're speaking to each person, not just speaking at everyone at once. It adds an extra level of connectivity into your delivery. And finally, be sure to engage with your audience, because beyond just speaking and making sure your body language is good, the core of the delivery is just doubling down on that point of speaking to your audience, not just speaking at them. And part of that ties into the content of the presentation itself. So hold your audience's attention within your presentation by finding ways to connect with them. Ask questions, do an icebreaker or an activity, use visual metaphors, comparisons, doing things like that where the audience has a chance to chip in or to do something on their own. Or even if you're in a meeting, just do a quick poll or ask a quick thing. it adds that extra level of engagement, and people might have joined the presentation feeling inactive, or they aren't 100% awake or listening. Having them perform an activity or answer a question will really up that level of engagement. And show your passion for the subject too. People will want to see that you're passionate. If you have a connection to the topic, tell a story about it. Share something that makes it personal to you or why you find it to be important. And especially true for topics that can be meetings that can be lengthy, or topics that you're trying to teach people. If you say, oh, there was a time I encountered this problem, here's how I overcame it, or this is how I first got involved in this, and here's why I find it important and want to share it with you. It makes you more than just a presenter. People see you more as a person once you share those bits about yourself and share your own personal passion about the topic at hand. And next up, use humor, especially if it's in a more casual presentation. It helps lighten the mood and increase engagement too, because that can either be in an icebreaker, just breaking the ice with a silly question or asking people an interesting topic, or just tossing in a joke or something that'll make people smile into the presentation. I'm getting memories of just all the bad examples of slides that we looked at earlier. Those are things that will stick with me for just long after the presentation, because they're just funny slides, and they really make things stand out. And so humor is always a good thing to toss in. It's memorable, it makes people smile, and just adds to that engagement factor. And also at the end, just create a takeaway slide or ask the audience to give their own takeaways. Say, here are the main topics that I wanted to just share with you all, and I hope that you learned each of them. Because after, especially a long presentation, it's nice to have some sort of summary slide, or if you're lost in all the information, take these 3 points away, for example, something along those lines, to make sure that everybody is caught up to speed at the end and that you didn't lose anybody. Or if you lost somebody, that they can at least get the takeaways from it. And next up, I'll be sharing just some general tips and tricks for both Google Slides and PowerPoint, because we've talked about just ways to make presentations, ways to deliver them in the best way. So here are just some little tips and tricks that can help bump it up to an even higher level. So for Google Slides, here are just some things that we found useful or interesting that we wanted to share that are within Google Slides. You can collaborate and link slides from different presentations. If you click on the share button to share your slides, insert a link and choose to link slides in the presentation and select the presentation, you can do so. So it's a way to just really link two things together in a really simple way. And Google Slides is great for just importing things and integration. I think you find that in a lot of Google products. It's really easy to just import things and share things that also are either on other places in the web or in other presentations that you've made. So click on that share button, link slides from different places. You can do that pretty well in Google Slides. Next up, you can turn your cursor into a laser pointer. And if you click on the present option at the top of the slideshow, go to the bottom panel with all the features and select pointer, then your mouse becomes a pointer. Let me see if I can do that right now. It blew my mind when I first found this out and have been excited to do it. And boom, laser pointer. It's fantastic. So this is my mouse that I'm moving right now. So it's just like if you're in person pointing an actual laser pointer around. If you want to do that and highlight something or just play around with it for fun, okay, you should probably use it to highlight something. Then that's the way to do it. It's over in the left corner when you're in presentation mode and you select laser pointer. And you can also publish to the web. You can just put the whole presentation onto the web so that it's available for people to share and look at just as its own web page. So you go to the file menu and then you just click on the publish to the web button. It's as simple as that. And then your presentation is up online for others to see as a link on the web. And so here's some tips for PowerPoint as well. So PowerPoint already has a lot of great functionalities, but here are just some ones that you might not know and some reminders of cool things that are in there. Using smart art. if you click on Insert and then Smart Art while you're in PowerPoint, you can create simple graphics that illustrate your points. And Smart Art is fun to use. It's great to add a little variety to a slide, break up the text with a little picture or a graphic, something that connects to what you're saying. Even if it's as simple as putting a light bulb on, like a picture of a light bulb, Smart Art really helps you just add a little bit of variety to something that might just be text, and it's available right there in PowerPoint. No need to copy and paste anything from online. You can also save presentations as a PDF. So you can go to Save As, then File Type, and then PDF. And PDFs are useful, especially because they're available cross-platform, because if someone might not have PowerPoint or they might not be on a device that allows them to see raw presentation files. But chances are that whatever device they're on, they're able to view a PowerPoint. So if you save it as a PowerPoint file, all the PowerPoints either go into a grid or are just aligned into a single file, and you can share that file with anybody else just as you would any other file. And that's very useful, especially for compatibility and accessibility. And third tip for PowerPoint, you can organize your slides in the slide sorter. Switch to this view by clicking on View and then Slide Order, and then you can organize it very easily that way. So if you ever feel lost or confused, or that you're drowning in way too many slides to organize, go to View and then Slide Sorter, and that tool will really help you out in there. And last but not least, Blackout and Whiteout mode. If you're in PowerPoint and you press B, you can make the screen go black during a presentation. So if you're presenting just like this right now, you press B, there it is. It turns, the screen makes, the screen completely blacks out. And I believe it might be possible in slides as well. Let me see. Yes, it is. So in PowerPoint as well, keep that in mind. Press B to make this everything go black. And this can be useful if you want to hide something on the screen and reveal it later, or if you just want to have the focus be on like your voice or your picture, anything like that. There's that way to black out the screen. And same applies to whiting out the screen. You press W to white out the screen like this, W, and everything is whited out. And then press W again, and you're back to normal. So both of them are great ways to hide something for now and then reveal it again later when you're in PowerPoint. And just to add some funny comics at the end, we found some Dilbert comics that are related to PowerPoints. You can read through them now or just take a quick look at them. But yeah, PowerPoints and presentations are something that people have trouble with throughout the history of PowerPoints. So we hope that you find these ones entertaining. And the one at the top I particularly like, everyone being asleep during that meeting. I feel like that might happen more than we might realize, just especially in virtual environment. I know there have been times I've been in class and I'm almost there. But yeah, just a couple of funny ones. And two more, because we just love Dilbert around here. I say around here, but me and Julia, and we hope you will also enjoy us adding a couple of these in. I'll leave them on for a few seconds. Alrighty. And I'll pass it back to you, Julia.
We've reached the end of our informational slides, and we're wondering, what questions do you have for us? Feel free to unmute or put your questions in the chat. I'm not seeing any questions so
I think
far.
we did such a great presentation
There's
that there are
one.
no questions.
There's one in the chat. How did you discover SlideGo?
Bethany introduced that to me. I don't
Me
know how
too.
you found it, John.
Also Bethany.
Yep.
So
I was
yeah. Go ahead, Jessica.
No, I was just going to say, I think we did, just as opposed to the not having any questions because you were so bowled over by how terrible something was. I really didn't have any questions for the opposite reason that this was just really good and really straightforward and helpful and you unambiguous. So I loved it. Thank you.
Yeah, it was great. We do have a question from, I'm guessing it's Lori, it says STC Rochester. It says, how long
Yeah,
does it
that's me.
typically take? Hi, Lori. She says, how long
Hello.
does it typically take to learn the templates?
Yeah, the reason I asked this question is, I was using, I wanted to use SlideSgo to put a quick presentation together. I had never used it before. And I thought, wait a minute, I got to get this presentation done and I don't have time to learn how to configure the templates or anything. So I was wondering if you could give some advice about the best way to kind of get up and running with the right template for a good presentation.
Can you give me an idea of what the presentation would be about?
Well, this was just a kind of a wrap-up session. It was a leadership transition session. And so there was one part of it that was interactive where I had 3 questions on one of the slides, and the participants were invited to respond to each of those questions. And the rest of it was just informational, just recognition and things like that.
I would probably go to SlidesGo and search the term leadership,
Okay.
and then just pick any of the templates that look good to you. Typically, it'll have different slide layouts, like
Yeah.
almost everything we've used in this presentation was just SlidesGo, and we put in a couple of our own images, like the one on this slide, and then we just change the text, and that's it. You really don't have to do much for SlidesGo.
Oh, okay. Well, that's good to know, because when I went into the SlidesGo site, it was like, there's so much here. Which one do I pick? So it was almost an embarrassment of riches that there was so much good stuff there, so far beyond what Microsoft offers with PowerPoint. So I really appreciate your doing this presentation just to help us get to know some of the great options that are available for making a really attractive and effective presentation. So thank you both.
Yeah, we appreciate it. And we're glad that it proved helpful. If anything, I think since we didn't do it during the presentation, I could go through a quick show of SlidesGo and just how to make a presentation from there. Yeah, I'll just do it in just a minute. So slidesgo.com.
And if you still have questions about anything at all, it's still open.
Yeah, absolutely. So it'll just take a few steps. We're on slidesgo.com right now, and there are a bunch of options here. You can pick from popular ones, but say you're interested in leadership slides, type in leadership, and it comes out with some specific ones.
Oh, this is great.
Yeah.
Now, why didn't I think to search for that?
There's so many options in there that
I know.
yeah. So this is a great way to just narrow it down. You can click on whichever one you like, say this one,
Okay.
and then over here where it says download this template, you can choose
Okay.
which platform you want to do.
Oh, okay. Are there certain instances where you would want to pick Google Slides as opposed to PowerPoint, or does it just kind of depend on the environment for the presentation?
Either one has its perks, really. I'd say
Okay.
Google Slides is good if you want to collaborate on something.
Okay.
Say multiple people want to work on the presentation at the same time.
Okay.
Google Slides is good.
Okay.
And PowerPoint is good if you, either if it's just a platform that you enjoy, or you want to do something offline because it doesn't depend on internet.
Oh,
So,
okay. Yeah. Yeah, it's nice that they offer both platforms to work in.
Yeah, they do. And clicking on either gives you a PowerPoint file with some design slides already on it, or
Okay.
Google Slides opens up a new Google Slides presentation with
Okay.
design slides on it.
Oh, okay. Very nice. Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. So really quick, I'll just show one as an example. So I just clicked on Google Slides. It says copy document, make a copy. Yep, you're just making a copy of that template for your own uses,
Okay.
pretty much.
Okay.
And I believe it's making it. Maybe it's taking a while to load.
Yep, it looks like it's spinning.
Yeah. Oh, yep, there it is. Just takes a while since it gives you a lot of options. So yeah, and there you go. Then you have all these pre-designed slides just
Wow.
put there
This
for
is
you.
so cool.
Yeah, it is pretty cool. So
Yeah.
you can just edit anything here where you want, like leadership, program. You can delete things.
Yeah.
And
move
there's
around
no
the files.
watermarks that it leaves behind or anything?
Nope, no watermarks. It just has, typically it has 1 or 2 slides that the website just asks you to keep in to say this was made with slides go.
Yeah, that's
But
that's not too intrusive. That's not bad.
yeah, it's fairly non-intrusive. So you can go in and edit anything you like once you click that button and
Okay.
make a copy. So yeah, that's just a little preview of Slides Go, and it works
Wow.
really well.
Yeah, I should say. Yeah, thank you.
So I have a general question, and one thing that I've noticed going between PowerPoint and slides, like if you were to drop a PowerPoint presentation into slides, I've noticed sometimes that strips away all the animations, and there's still some compatibility issues. What are your best ways to go around that?
Personally, I haven't had an issue with animations, but it depends on if it's an animation that Slides has. If Slides has that animation, I would think that it would transfer over. And if Slides doesn't have that animation, you'd probably need to pick a different one.
Okay, yeah, because I know preparing some presentations for the CAC team, I know that our chair was having some issues, and we were having to do version control with PowerPoint. So.
Yeah, I would agree with what Julia said, since even though Google Slides does have some animations, it's not as many as PowerPoint. So sometimes there's that compatibility issue, but there's always the option to just replace it with one from that smaller list if you're going with Google Slides. So yeah.
And then we have a comment here from WC. If you want to come on, Mike, and give us some background about what you would have wanted to have in your 15 years of government organization or sharing templates with the governments.
I actually, for the most of the last 20 years of my career, I was on a joint venture program that was kind of experimental and cooperative with the US government and several other governments. And we agreed on a standard template fairly early. And the good news is, if you don't have multiple templates, every presentation you make basically can be then intermixed in the future. But just looking at the intelligent layout and stimulating design, particularly the Slides Go, it really would have been nice to draw from that and maybe even agree on one of those as our standardized template. The defense industry doesn't quite function that way, I'm afraid.
Yeah, it is nice to just have a template and have a format that both everybody can use and looks nice as well. and have a wider amount of options. So I definitely do see that. It's useful having those tools just to add to both ease of viewing and the visual appeal of it. So definitely.
Do we have any more questions or comments?
Yeah, this was really, really well done. Just wanted to say kudos. There was a lot of great information and great tips provided and really engaging as well. And I also really like the little laser pointer idea too. And I thought it was so cool. I wanted to be able to do it in PowerPoint. So I just Googled it now and it turns out you can do it in PowerPoint too.
That's awesome.
Which, yeah, I didn't know. And I learned a lot of cool tips and tricks today. And I just wanted to say thank you for taking the time to do this. It was great.
Yeah, thank you. This was most informative. Thanks a lot.
You're welcome. And the video for this will be available on the STC Florida YouTube. And I'll also make sure to link the slides to that.
Yeah, for sure. And we're glad you both enjoyed it.
And I just wanted to confirm you did this presentation out of Google Slides as opposed to a PowerPoint?
I worked on it months ago initially. I think I started in PowerPoint, but I moved it to Google Slides.
Gotcha. No, when you were doing the presentation, you were in presentation mode in Google Slides?
Yep.
Okay, cool. I seem to have a PowerPoint disability, so I was like, hey, maybe if I do it in Google Slides, it just would seem to be very seamless and very easy to move back and forth. Whereas sometimes PowerPoint can, I don't know, it's me and maybe I need to practice, but I've seen it do strange things. And it didn't seem to do that when you guys were doing it here. So I was just curious.
Yeah, overall, I really do enjoy Google Slides. I feel like I've been using it a lot more over the past year or two as I've had to just either help with or make my own presentations, and it feels good to use. So it's been my go-to. It's a good platform.
Yeah, it seems like, you know, that PowerPoint is very robust in terms of formatting, but you can use to get yourself in trouble with that, you know. But sometimes when it's so powerful that sometimes I think maybe in the presentation mode, it just gets a little overwhelmed trying to switch to presenter mode. I don't know what it is, but I was like, oh, this seems a little bit more streamlined for actually doing the presenting. So it was great to see. So
Yeah, that is a good part about it. Sometimes with PowerPoint, it's like PowerPoint is very powerful, but I guess sometimes it can be like too much power
yeah,
in one person's hands.
yeah.
So it can lead to one thing or another.
Yeah, it's sort of
yeah.
like Photoshop versus Snagit. Photoshop just has too many options that we don't often need as technical communicators. You know, you need to take a screenshot, but I don't need to do as much. And so I used to find it difficult to navigate Photoshop because it was just so many things there, and the files were pretty big. And really, to take a screenshot and crop it and move it and draw on it is not, you know, just finding some of those tools in Photoshop. That's what my analogy is to this. So I typically go with Snagit.
Yeah, I would agree. That's a good comparison because both are great platforms, but one is robust, one is good for other purposes because of that, you know, simplicity, and you don't have 50 buttons at once, especially for the person who just wants to make a quick presentation or a quick image. So yeah, both powerful, both good, but different preferences.
I think we're good to go to our last slide then.
Alrighty.
Thank you guys for coming. You can feel free to email us at newsletter at stcorlando.org, and
myself at johnclement.stc@gmail.com. All right, so thank you everyone for coming and for attending this presentation.
Thank you both very
Thank
much.
you. It was very good. Thank you.
Thank you so much for both of you. And next month we will have
it's on our announcement slide, so you can go. Can you go back
Okay.
to that?
Sure. Here we go.
perfect. How to solve your workplace problem. So what we're looking for is anybody who might want to submit their problems and how we can solve them. So we will get together and brainstorm and try to solve your problems. So let us know. And we are also looking for experts. We're looking for panelists. If you have problems that you would like to solve for people.
All right.
Thank you for joining us tonight, everybody.
Yeah, thank you everyone. I'll
Glad to
stop
be
the
here.
screen share.
Thank you.